Alright, I'm going to be talking about the Indiana bat this time. So that is Myotis sodalis. It's an endangered species in Ohio and throughout a lot of the Midwest. So as compared to with an invasive species where all you really need to know is how to get rid of it and what it looks like, we need to know a lot more about endangered species in order to properly protect them. So this will be a lengthier one. Okay, the nomenclature of this, the myotis of its name means mouse ear, and sodalis means companion because the Indiana bat is a social creature. There's two types of bats in terms of sociality, and that's whether they live alone or they live in colonies. And so this one does live in colonies. The first specimen was found in southern Indiana in Wyandotte Cave, 1904. Okay, so they're very small, along with a lot of myotis. They weigh 1/4 of an ounce, which is about the same as 3 pennies, but their wingspan is 9 to 11 inches. They have dark brown to black fur, which looks very similar to other bat species, especially those in the genus Myotis. So scientists use little details like their foot structure or their color variation to distinguish. So they have two habitats based on what time of the year it is. In the winter, they're hibernating because they have a diet of bugs. In the winter, there's not really food available. So they hibernate for 6 months to store energy. And they do hibernate in large groups to, maintain body heat. And so if they're waking up early, this energy they've been storing, they use it right up and they can starve to death because there just isn't enough food for them. So that's why being woken up is so dangerous for them. They hibernate in cool, humid caves or in old mines, and very specific as far as temperature. It has to be 32 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit with stable temperatures. So this is pretty uncommon to find caves with this proper conditions. And so as you're looking at some of the characteristics here, I think it's important to note these are things that makes it very vulnerable, and so it's not that much of a surprise that it's been endangered. Now, you can't say it's the animal's fault because, endangerment is usually caused by humans, but you can see why, as compared to other species, they're at risk. All right, in the summer, they do migrate to their summer habitat in and along forested edges. They roost on tree bark or in decaying trees. You can see here, look, he's all cuddled up. Males roost alone or in small groups, but females roost in groups of 100 or more, which is called a maternity colony. And as far as reproduction, they do mate in the fall, which is right before winter, and then the female stores sperm during hibernation through the winter, and in the spring she becomes pregnant. And so they migrate to their maternity colonies, all the pregnant female bats, and they have 1 pup each per year. That's not very much. Again, you're seeing that's part of why they're endangered. They do stay closely together for their first summer, the mom and the baby do. The baby's nursed by the mother. It is a mammal, and so she only leaves the baby when she's going to get food. Their feeding habits, their diet is flying insects along rivers, lakes, and uplands, and they benefit humans by eating what we consider pests. So, a lot of mosquitoes. They consume half their body weight in one night. This is why we like bats so much. People are building bat houses. We don't like mosquitoes, and so it's natural that bats are friends. All right, their range, I took this graph from fws.gov, and this shows kind of the range that they're in, mostly in the Midwest, as you can see. Blue, these are some wildlife sanctuaries, just because of the website it was on. Wanted to point those out. So the 2019 census stated that there was under 540,000 bats. That's about half the size of the population when it was declared endangered, so it has still been decreasing. But I want to point out, the original document, I think it was from 2005, 2004, something like that, and it had a population that was in the 400,000, so it is going up very gradually, which is good. And how I was saying, they roost in big groups, and it's really hard to find proper conditions. So 72 of their population hibernates in just 4 sites, and those sites are located in Missouri, Indiana, and Illinois. So you are seeing, with that kind of thing, if one of those 4 groups gets woken up in the middle of the winter because something horrible happened, that's a big problem. All right, why is it endangered? So we've kind of been noticing this the whole time with their details. Human disturbance it's all humans' fault if we're being real. So large hibernation groups means that one disturbance will kill hundreds of bats. And that's groups of up to 500 bats per square feet, and the largest caves support 20 to 50,000 bats. So, if you get a human in there and they do something stupid, all of them wake up and probably all of them are going to die. And that's been the primary challenge with bringing their population back up. Cave commercialization and improper gating has been a problem. Cave commercialization can lead to some forms of human disturbance, but what you want to do is gate off the areas that the bats are hibernating in, which is what this group did here in this picture. This was from the National Cave Gating Workshop in 2009. So they built bat-friendly gating at Cave Cliff, Missouri, and it was part of, the efforts to protect the Indiana bat. So you can see they're very happy about what they've done. They're doing a good thing because proper gating protects bats from human disturbances. But when you look at improper gating in commercialized caves, it can prevent access by bats. It can affect the temperature. It affects airflow and humidity. So when you see like a chain link fence or something really small where the bats can't really get through, that's a problem. Anything, really dense, like this is super, you see how there's all these holes and stuff. Like the bats can get through that. Airflow, it doesn't affect airflow at all. They can get through that. But you'll see with improper gating, it changes the cave conditions and they're no longer ideal for the bats. Okay, so summer habitat loss and degradation has, been an issue because deforesting is always a problem. But also, pesticides and environmental contaminants have been contributing to population loss. So the insect population in some areas is lower due to pesticides, and the bats may eat insects that contain pesticides. They can drink contaminated water, and then they might absorb chemicals in some recently treated areas. So that's been a huge issue. All right, what is being done to protect them, though? So listing has changed. In 1967, they were declared in danger of extinction under the Endangered Species Preservation Act of 1966. They're currently listed as endangered under the Endangered Species Act of 1973. The recovery plan has been developed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in 1983, and it's frequently updated. They examine it. So I went to their website, and I was looking at this. They post a timeline of all their endangered species and what they're doing about it. So, like, as you can see, this is when it was first listed. They declared certain things critical habitats. You see, just a lot of good stuff they've been doing. So if you want more details on that, you can go to their website. I put a link at the end. Habitat protection, that's been part of what we're doing to keep them safe. So public lands that the U.S. government has kind of authority over, so that would be U.S. wildlife refuges, military areas, Forest Service lands. They spend some extra efforts trying to manage forests for the bats. So caves are managed for proper conditions. Caves are protected from disturbance, like the gates we saw earlier. Ensuring the size and species of needed roost trees, they might plant those. And providing dead or decaying trees for roosting. So what you'll see is girdling, where they you cut into the around the base of the tree, and the tree dies, but it stays standing, and that creates a good environment for bats. Education and outreach is also a big deal. Like right now, this is education and outreach from Indiana bats. So if you educate your population, hey, don't go waking up bats. Plant make bat houses, that kind of thing. It's can be very helpful. All right, that's all.